They said she was built to end worlds, a weapon born from fear itself. But when I looked into her eyes, I didn't see a monster. I saw someone begging to be free. They said Outpost X-47 wasn't a place you visited. It was a place you survived. A dying rock orbiting twin suns, wrapped in metallic storms and silence. The kind of world that made even machines feel tired. Commander Elias Koran had seen his share of disasters, but this one smelled different, like oil, ozone, and secrets. His shuttle pierced through rust-colored clouds, the hull creaking from the pressure. Inside, the air hummed with tension. This was supposed to be a routine inspection, but every part of him knew that was a lie. He adjusted his collar, glancing at his reflection in the cracked viewport, dark hair graying at the edges, eyes that had seen too much war and too little reason for it. One more cursed mission, he muttered. His companion, a 4-foot-tall insectoid named Rin, clicked his mandibles in mock cheer. Routine inspection, Commander. Nothing bad ever happens after those words. Elias couldn't help a dry smile. If I die, make sure they spell my name right this time. The outpost appeared below, a cluster of steel domes half buried in sand, glowing faintly under the storm. From orbit, it looked abandoned. Up close, it pulsed like something alive. They landed near the central command tower. A local overseer, pale, nervous, sweating through his uniform, greeted them with the kind of politeness that smelled of guilt. "We're honored by Earth Command's visit," he stammered.
"Spare me," Elias replied.
"Show me your mining records and the reason your distress signals keep going silent." As they walked the corridors, Elias noticed things that didn't belong. Energy burns on walls, sealed doors with warning glyphs, cameras pointing inward, not outward. Something was being hidden, something dangerous. At the lowest level he heard it, faint, rhythmic, almost human. A heartbeat echoing through reinforced metal. "Rin," he said quietly, "you hear that?" The alien's antennae trembled. Not a machine, organic. Elias followed the sound to a sealed chamber marked E13, restricted biocontainment. The walls shimmered with power conduits, feeding into whatever was inside. He placed a hand on the cold metal door. The heartbeat quickened, as if answering him. For a man who'd stopped believing in destiny, that was enough. "Open it," Elias ordered. "Let's meet the thing the galaxy fears." The containment chamber hissed as the door unlocked, releasing a gust of cold air that smelled faintly of ozone and old dust. Elias stepped inside with slow, deliberate steps. The light was dim, rippling across metal surfaces like reflections on dark water. Then he saw her. She was enormous. Part flesh, part machine, bound upright by shimmering energy restraints that hummed with low, angry power. Her skin glowed faintly silver under the lights, marked with luminous veins that pulsed in rhythm with that same heartbeat he'd heard earlier. Her hair drifted weightlessly around her face, black as space, and her eyes, gods, her eyes, were molten gold threaded with light. They weren't angry. They were aware. Rin froze beside him, voice barely a whisper. "She's alive and conscious." Elias didn't reply. He simply watched as her gaze met his, unblinking, curious, almost sorrowful. For a heartbeat, the world outside that room vanished. Her voice, when it came, wasn't sound. It was resonance, a vibration that brushed against thought. "Another one come to measure my chains?" Elias swallowed, forcing words past the lump in his throat. "I came to understand what's being kept here." A faint smile touched her lips, too human for comfort. Understanding and captivity rarely share a room. The remark hit harder than any weapon. He glanced at the control panels, all military-grade Earth defense tech. His own people had built this prison. "What are you?" he asked quietly. "Once I was a guardian of worlds," she said. "Now I am a warning. Your kind calls me Lyra." She shifted slightly, the energy bindings flaring in response. Elias flinched as sparks rained across the floor. "Careful," he said instinctively. "You fear for me?" she asked. "No," he answered. "For whoever thought they could hold you." That earned him something unexpected, a low, melodic laugh. "You're different from the others." Rin tugged at his sleeve nervously. "Commander, we should go. This isn't safe." Elias didn't move. His eyes stayed locked on Lyra's. "Safety's overrated," he murmured. "Freedom isn't," the lights flickered. For an instant, the power restraints dimmed, and Lyra's voice brushed his mind again, softer this time. "Then maybe you'll help me remember what that word means." By the time Elias reached the surface, his mind was a storm. Lyra wasn't a weapon. She was alive, intelligent, and terrifyingly self-aware. Yet every record he found in the outpost's archives described her as biotech property. Nothing about her origin, nothing about consent, only commands, containment, and control. Rin hovered behind him as the terminal flickered with classified files. "They didn't find her, Commander," the alien said softly. "They made her." Elias scrolled through schematics, each worse than the last. Hybrid DNA, adaptive neural coding, ancient Titan cells extracted from ruins light years away. They built her from the bones of a civilization and called it progress. His voice was tight, disgusted. A message chimed on the console. "Director Althis requests your immediate report." Elias almost laughed. "He can wait." When he arrived at the command deck, Althis was waiting, tall, polished, and cold as the steel walls around him. "I hear you've taken quite an interest in our asset," the director said, smiling without warmth. "I've taken an interest in the truth," Elias replied. "You're holding a sentient being in chains." Althis leaned forward. "Commander, you're not here to moralize. You're here to make sure Earth profits." That was the breaking point. Elias's hand clenched into a fist. "She's not for sale." The director's tone hardened. "She already is. The Syndicate arrives tomorrow. Stand down, or I'll have you removed from command." Elias turned sharply, jaw tight. "Then remove me." Rin found him later, pacing his quarters, staring out at the storm beyond the glass. "You can't fight the consortium, Elias," Rin warned. Elias's reflection looked hollow, but his voice was steady. "Maybe not. But I can free one prisoner." Night fell hard over the outpost. Alarms pulsed faintly in the distance. Elias suited up in black armor, loading a sidearm he hoped he wouldn't need. "I'm going back down there," he said. Rin sighed. "You're insane." "Probably. Stay by the shuttle. If I'm not back by dawn, I delete your search history?" That earned a faint grin. "Exactly." As he descended into the tunnels once more, he whispered to himself, "This isn't a rescue, it's redemption." And somewhere in the dark, Lyra's heartbeat echoed back as if she'd heard him coming. The alarms began before Elias even reached the containment level. Red light pulsed through the tunnels like a heartbeat gone mad. Security drones whirred past him, their metallic voices barking orders he ignored. Unauthorized breach detected. Sector E13. He was already running. They found out. His boots hit the grated floor in heavy rhythm, echoing the pounding in his chest. When the chamber doors came into view, smoke poured from beneath them, bright with flickers of unstable energy. Inside, chaos reigned. Lyra's restraints glowed white-hot, sparking like lightning as she fought to stay conscious. Energy conduits along the walls exploded one by one, showering her in sparks. The control team screamed orders through static-filled comms, but no one dared get close. Elias burst in through the haze, gun drawn, though he knew bullets were useless here. "Stop the power feed!" he shouted. No one listened, so he made them. A single warning shot cracked through the noise, scattering the panicked engineers. He dove to the main console and slammed the manual override. The restraints flickered, and then failed. The silence that followed was terrifying. Lyra's eyes opened, glowing brighter than before. For a moment she just breathed, the air trembling around her. Then her gaze found him. "You came back," Elias swallowed hard. "Told you I would." The chamber shuddered violently. The energy core had gone critical. They had maybe 5 minutes before the entire sector went down. "Can you move?" She gave a small, humorless smile. "Can you run?" When the explosion hit, it wasn't sound, it was light. Metal tore apart like paper. Elias felt himself thrown backward, only to land in a shadow that wasn't his own. Lyra had shielded him, her massive form absorbing the shockwave. Through the dust, security teams advanced, armored, armed, terrified. Althis' voice echoed through the intercom, calm and venomous. "Contain the asset. Kill the human. Lyra's expression hardened. No more chains. With a single motion, she raised her hand, and the ground itself answered. Energy burst outward, shattering weapons, collapsing catwalks. When the smoke cleared, Elias was still standing. "Lyra," he said softly, "we have to go." She turned toward him, fierce and magnificent. "Then run, little human. Run with me." Together they disappeared into the storm. The storm had finally quieted. What remained of Outpost X-47 was little more than twisted metal, half buried under crimson sand. Above it, a single shuttle streaked across the dusk sky, breaking free of the planet's gravity. Inside, Elias sat at the controls, his hands trembling slightly. Every muscle in his body ached, but he couldn't help glancing over his shoulder. Lyra sat in the cargo bay, knees drawn close, watching the stars through the viewport. Without the chains and humming restraints, she looked different, less like a weapon, more like something ancient rediscovering peace. "You should rest," he said. "I don't sleep much," she replied, voice softer now, almost human. "Dreams are strange when you've spent your life in a cage." He smiled faintly. "Yeah, freedom tends to mess with people." Her golden eyes flicked toward him. "You risked everything for me. Why?" He hesitated before answering. "Because someone had to prove the galaxy wrong about you. About us." They flew in silence for a while, the hum of the engines filling the space between words. Rin's voice crackled through the comms from the secondary console. "Course plotted to the outer rim. No patrols, no signals, just empty sky." "Good," Elias said. "We could use some quiet." Lyra tilted her head. "And when the quiet ends, then we build something worth the noise," he said simply. A faint smile curved her lips. "Perhaps the universe isn't as cruel as I thought." When the shuttle finally broke through the last cloud layer, the stars opened before them, brighter, endless, unguarded. Lyra reached out, fingers brushing the transparent glass. The reflection of her hand merged with Elias's as he joined her. "They feared you because they couldn't understand you," he murmured. "They feared themselves," she corrected gently. "I just reminded them what they'd lost." For a moment there was no soldier, no experiment, just two beings staring into infinity. Elias turned to her with a quiet smile. "So what now, Lyra?" She met his gaze, calm and certain. "Now we live. And maybe, if we're lucky, they'll learn from what we became." Outside, the twin suns faded behind them. Ahead lay stars uncharted, and in that endless light, the world's so-called monster finally looked free. They called her a weapon, a monster, a thing born from fear. But fear was never the enemy. Ignorance was. One human dared to see her, not as a threat, but as a soul reaching for light. In that moment, the universe remembered what it had forgotten, that compassion can build what power can't. The world feared her. But he touched her heart, and together they rewrote what it means to be alive, because sometimes the greatest victories aren't won in battles, but in understanding the ones we were taught to fear.